How many guys had a good week this last week? How many of you eh? How many of you you're just coasting, ready for school to get out? Right? Yep, I know how that is. I'm excited that the end of the year is almost here for school. I remember this, the month of May being like one of my favorite months of the year because it was the first month that you could legit like wear shorts again because you most likely weren't going to get any more chilly days, but if you did, you could like kind of bear it in your shorts. And the flip-flops come out and you get excited because summer's just around the corner and man, it's a good time of the year. It's a good month. Well, we've been in a series called Underestimated. We've been talking about how a lot of times it's difficult because we feel like we can be misunderstood, undervalued, and misjudged. When we feel underestimated, it hurts, and we feel like we can't really live up to our potential. You know, how many of you guys have ever been in a conversation before? Maybe you're in a big like setting, whether it's in the middle of the hallway at school or the cafeteria, or maybe you're at a restaurant with your family and like it's so loud you can't hear what the person is saying on the other end of the table from you. You guys been in a situation like that? It's so difficult. It's like it's when you feel like you're on the outside of a conversation and you can't actually be involved with what everybody else is saying, and so you have that awkward like smile and nod.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going on, but you're still nodding and smiling. Like, I've been in that situations more than I'd care to admit, and it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating when you feel like you're supposed to be in this conversation, you can't like fully participate in it, and then you're missing out on like what everybody else is doing and saying because of it. It's frustrating. You know, but sometimes life feels a lot like that. Sometimes it seems like there's so much noise happening around you that it's hard to listen to the people that you really want to hear. Can you guys relate with that? Sometimes there's so much noise, there's so much going on that it's really hard to hear the people you actually want to hear from because all you hear are the loud people. And it feels like that in life a lot of times. In fact, the voices of the adults in your life are really important, but sometimes you miss them because there's just so much noise. There's so much loudness going around you. There's so many adults speaking in your life. So actually, who's a really good storyteller? Like somebody, like once you're going, you can just go all day and you can tell a really good story. I see somebody pointing. Yeah, you want to come on up? Yeah, come on up. Is somebody want to volunteer who can tell? Nobody will hear you, but you can come on up. Yeah, good job. All right, now I need somebody who would say you're a pretty good listener. Who would say you're a pretty good listener? Okay, yeah, come on up. All right, so for this little exercise, I'm going to have you put those on, okay? Because you're a great listener, okay? And what you're going to do is you're just going to tell a story, and you're going to say it in the mic for everybody to hear. The only difference is that she's going to try to hear you in the midst of the headphones, okay? So let me pull up some good music for you that I know you'll like, okay? I'll make sure this isn't going to kill your ears first. Okay, now I want you to tell her your story.
What story do I tell?
Anything. Tell something that happened at school this week, or that soccer. Tell soccer story.
So I had a tournament this weekend and we tied 1-1. And today we have another game.
All right, everybody clap really loud. Okay, everybody pretend to clap really loud, but you're not really clapping. Come on, grab a seat. I said you could grab a seat. Aren't you a good listener? Just give her a hand, give her a hand. That was a little mean of me, a little cruel, but you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? So sometimes you really want to hear what people are trying to say to you, but you can't because all you hear is like noise. Which, did you like my hard Christian metal music? Like that was pretty awesome. Anybody ever listen to Disciple? Anybody know who that is? Anyway, Anyway, you should look them up later if you're into that kind of thing. But anyway, so it's really difficult to hear the voices that you want to hear when there's so much noise going on in your life. When there's so much going on and so many other voices trying to speak into you, tell you what to do, it's difficult to hear the ones that are really important. And it makes you feel even more underestimated and undervalued and all that kind of stuff. But here's the reality. With so many voices competing for your attention, sometimes it's really difficult to hear the ones that you really need to hear. And in fact, many of you've been in the position before where you felt that tension that adults are annoyed by you, right? That you're kind of more annoying and they don't want to really actually listen to you. And so you felt like a nuisance or a bother to some adults in your life. And so you kind of learned that you are underestimated and undervalued in their eyes. And so the reality is sometimes adults can be really hard to respect and to trust that they have your best intentions in mind, especially in the season of life. And maybe it's hard to listen to adults because you don't think they understand. Maybe it's because, well, they didn't have phones and smartphones and all that kind of stuff when I was a kid, so they can never understand. I've heard rumors of the phone that hung on a wall that had a cord, right, and you couldn't go anywhere. They don't know anything about my life, right? And so maybe you're in that camp, and it's difficult to listen to adults because you think that they don't understand, or maybe you think they just don't like you, right? Anybody never mind, don't name any names, but we've all had those teachers, right? Or those coaches that they're out to get you. They don't like you, right? It's not most teachers, it's not most coaches, but sometimes it happens. And sometimes that can taint your entire perspective of every other teacher and every other coach because of one bad experience. And so maybe you feel like they don't like you. Maybe you feel like some adults are just constantly on a power trip, trying to tell you what to do, what not to do, and trying to maybe you think that's me sometimes, trying to tell you how to live your life, right? And so maybe you don't listen to adults because you feel like maybe they just are a little power crazy, or maybe you don't like to listen to certain adults because you don't feel like they deserve to be in charge. Right? Maybe you know something about their personal life, or you see the way that they treat those around them, and you think that they are just not nice people. They should not be in charge, right? And so sometimes there's that tension, but sometimes adults are really hard to listen to because at the end of the day, you just feel underestimated by them. And that can be really, really difficult. But have you ever thought that maybe there might be power in listening to the adults in your life? Maybe there's something to be learned, something to be gained from listening to the adults in your life. And I know for all the reasons we just said, sometimes those are some obstacles in doing that, but I want to just remind you of something that we've been talking about because with the relationship of Paul and Timothy. You remember Paul was the guy who wrote a lot of the letters in the New Testament, and he had his spiritual son in the faith. He had Timothy, we've been talking about the last few weeks, and maybe we can learn from them one more time this week. In fact, if you've been with us the last couple of weeks, we've done this verse, and last week, I hope you did it with the video. You said the verse out loud. So let's do this again together. This comes from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. Let's say this out loud. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Let's do that one more time. I want to hear all of you because I could hear some of you, but not all of you, okay? 1, 2, 3. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. See, when Paul is talking to Timothy, maybe he knows because there are a lot of the people around Timothy that underestimated him, remember? There's people that didn't think he should be in charge, people that thought he was too young, people that didn't think he had it in him. And Paul's saying above all the other voices, don't listen to those, don't listen to all the noise. I want you to focus only on what you can do. That's what we talked about the last few weeks. But check out what Paul says actually later in the next chapter, in chapter 5. This is what Paul says to Timothy. He says, but never speak harshly to an older man, but appeal to him respectfully as you would to your own father. Talk to younger men as you would your own brothers. I think there's another verse after that. Yeah. Treat older women as you would your mother, and treat younger women with all purity as you would your own sister. So basically what he's saying is this. Like, you should, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. But you should also show respect. Right? He doesn't say it's not just a right and a license to like not listen to people, right? Because sometimes we can take that verse and we can run with it and we can say, oh, don't let anyone look down on me. Okay, I'm going to do what I want, and who cares if they don't like me, right? That's not what this verse is saying. It's saying, don't let anyone look down on you, but set an example in your life. And part of that example is by showing respect to those older than you and those younger than you. Because here's the reality. This is the tension that you will face for the rest of your life. Okay? You know it right now because, and it's true in my life, because there's sometimes older people in the room. When we're in the same room as older people, we feel like maybe they're out of touch. Or when we're in the same room as younger people, we think they're just annoying, right? How many of you guys have little siblings? Okay, you know I'm telling you the truth, right? So there's times where no matter what room you're in, if there's older people will always feel like they're out of touch to you, and younger people will always feel like they're annoying to you, unless you choose respect. Unless you choose to treat those people like family. Paul is saying to Timothy, hey, it's okay, don't let anyone look down on you, but set an example, but you should show respect and love to everybody as if they are your own family. Now, if you're like me when I was your age, that would not have been helpful advice because I did not treat my family very well a lot of the time, especially my siblings. So maybe for you that's just a challenge right there. Maybe you should actually treat your family like family, and then treat everybody else like that. Treat everybody else like you love them, like you care about them. That is what Paul is saying to Timothy, because here's the reality. Like we mentioned earlier, it's really hard to hear the right voices when there's so much noise going on in your life, but you have the ability to choose which adults you're going to listen to and which ones actually care about you the most. And the right adults in our lives can help us grow. The right adults in our lives can help us grow. So the bottom line of what I want you guys to get out of this week is to never underestimate wise adults in your life. Just like you don't like to be underestimated, don't underestimate the wise adults that God has placed in your life, because I can tell you from personal experience, wise adults in your life can save you from a lot of stupid mistakes that you could make. Like, wise adults can save your life. You can choose who gets to speak loudly into your life. And so in order to kind of cut out the noise and figure out which adults you should be listening to, I want to give you kind of some of these guidelines. So one, figure out who you'll allow to speak into your life. Here's 3 questions I want you to ask before you reach for the volume on the control of the adult voices in your life. Okay, you ready? So in order to know if someone should speak into your life, 1, do they make wise decisions in their own lives? The adults that you know, do they make wise choices in their own lives? Secondly, do they care enough about me to tell me what I don't want to hear? In other words, if they are willing to say something that might make you upset out of love because they know that it's best for you, then that's a good thing. You don't want people just to tell you what you want to hear, because that doesn't help you grow. Like if you say, does my smile look okay? It's like it's picture day at school. And you're like, does my smile look okay? And the person taking the picture, the adult, goes, yeah, it looks great. And then takes your picture, and you get back in the yearbook later and you've got a piece of spinach in your teeth. Like, they may have told you what you wanted to hear, which is you look great, but that wasn't very helpful advice. And your yearbook will show it forever, right? So you need someone who's willing to say, no, you got some food in your teeth, right? You need someone who loves you enough to be able to say, hey, you're treating that person poorly. Or hey, you should think about this when you're signing up for classes next year. You want adults in your life to tell you things that maybe you don't even like. The third question that you'd have to ask is, have they proven themselves to be trustworthy to other students like me? And if they pass all 3 of those questions, then that's really good. You should probably listen to them. Secondly, I want you to think about one big issue that's impacting your life right now. And maybe it's dating, or it's school, or it's a conflict in your family, or a fight in your friend group. But figure out one area in your life that you could use some advice or some input, from some wisdom from somebody older and wiser than you. Lastly, I want you to invite an adult to speak into your life. All right? I think you guys have great small group leaders that are here to do that for you every single week. And I know that a lot of them would love to talk to you even outside of here. So you have adults built in around your life that care about you. You have parents, you have coaches, you do have teachers that absolutely love and care about you and want what's best for you. So find the ones that you want speaking into your life and invite them in. As you guys get ready to go to your small groups, what area of your life could be better if you let a trusted adult speak into it? So what area of your life could be better if you let a trusted adult speak into it? I want you to think about that question. I'm going to pray, and then Jeff will say a word, and then you guys can go to your groups.